Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to the Call of Duty world, and Crimsix had a few words to say for Shotzi earlier today, but he also had some thoughts on Awakening and how Awakening could have joined the Dallas Empire during the Cold War season. Decided to turn them down. Crim thinks he's an idiot for doing so, but how could this have changed the Call of Duty landscape? Very much intrigued to your thoughts down below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this and Ralph's Valve. Just wanted to mention as well, camera quality still awful. The new camera just didn't want to work again on this laptop, so we're just gonna have to make do. I realized it was this camera that was making my lips look really red all those, like, you know, months ago when I used this camera before the new one came along, and actually I realized my lips actually aren't incredibly red, but they're looking at it again today, baby, so love to see it. This also from, well, Ralph, we talked about what he had to say yesterday on the fact that Treyarch might be working on the new Modern Warfare title, and I mean, this apparently is what's happening lately. IW Associate describes Modern Warfare 2's gameplay as most similar to Modern Warfare 2019. Who is surprised? They're basically, I imagine, going to copy and paste this game from a couple of years ago, which might not be great for competitive, especially, I mean, the kind of comment here, there's just more of it. So it seems like they're just taking Modern Warfare 2019 and just, you know, multiplying it up to another level. I was not too happy with the gameplay. It looks incredible, however. So this just, it does this not, like, sum up Call of Duty recently, right? That it's more about the graphics, right, and how the game looks than how it plays from a competitive or even a public match perspective, quite frankly. So not exactly ideal, but I imagine they just copy and paste the game from a couple of years ago and go again with it, which in fairness, some people look back on Modern Warfare 2019 and say, you know what, compared to Vanguard, maybe that was actually an okay title. At least there were some maps that maybe were better than what we have to deal with today. This also from Enable thought was interesting, right? Had a blast filling in for Status Quo, unfortunately could not qualify. So he's been playing Halo lately. He's back on the Halo front, tried to qualify for, I'm pretty sure, the HCS Anaheim, the North American event. They just about fell short, but yeah, it was fun playing competitively, but I have no plans of competing in the future unless it is under 100 Thieves. Good luck to all of the teams. So I do wonder what 100 Thieves will do on the Halo front, because they were certainly showing interest in getting a Halo team, but right now is probably not the time to do it, because all the best players are locked up on other organizations, right? So maybe they want to leave it a year to, you know, pick up some of the guys that get dropped in some crazy Rostermania period. I don't know. But Enable was looking really good so far in this game, to be honest. Seemed to be back in business. And in the same way that Formal seems to be a writer on the Sentinel side, or at least formerly Sentinels, like, who knows where he's going to go next after this Anaheim event. But who knows whether Enable could come through and kind of captain the 100 Thieves, a Halo roster, when they come into business. That'd be kind of a crazy comeback. But yeah, definitely an esports veteran all around. This also from Boston versus Surge, a scrim that went down last night. Ended up being 4-2. Again, I'm pretty sure in favor of Surge. I think that was the same thing that happened before, to be honest. Splitting the controls, 3-1 in terms of the hard points. And it's honestly been quite a time now since I've seen a Picard actually go to time. Like, I think nowadays teams tend to be better at actually closing it out. Like 250, 240 right here. Like, we used to see a load at the start of the game that were like, you know, 189 to 160 or something, when people just wouldn't get on the hill. And maybe that'll happen a few times this year. But generally we see them go to time, even with the crazy close games that also we did see at the kickoff event. Let's talk about the Mutineers then, because this was their performance at the kickoff. They did win their first round match against Los Angeles Guerrillas, then it fell short, and you can see Awakening kind of leading the line here, at least on the Lion Man cards with an 87 rating. He was looking really good on the SMG, to be fair. And honestly, when he came into Florida during the Modern Warfare season, this guy was a revelation. He was out of control, performing so well all across the board, like with an AR, with an SMG. People thought he was hacking right in the early part of that game, at least when he came in for Florida. Like, he was like, his awareness seemed to be so good. People always talked about it. Then last year, he started off really great as well, but him and Skyz didn't really seem to be able to get along properly. Not in-game, but not in terms of their chemistry, but just in terms of how they played on the map, right? It seemed like they were kind of taking away kills from each other, because whenever Awakening had a great series, Skyz would struggle, and then towards the end of the year, it was Skyz that was killing it, and then Awakening fell off to some degree. So still, towards the end of last year, probably not the ideal pickup, a lot of people would say. Also, Neptune certainly had some words on his communication and the frustrations he had within that team. But well, Dallas Empire was certainly going through their fair share of struggles last year towards the start of it, and they were looking for some options. This also just wanted to mention, because Gersh kind of pointed out to me yesterday that this no pressure series is pretty much what Clayster was describing as Vision, right? So there's a new like Vision type series, behind the scenes stuff effectively by the New York Subliners, and that's going to be called No Pressure, right? And the first one's going to be with Crimsix. That's exciting, but of course, well, he's been going rogue in the last couple of days on his stream. This, of course, back in 2020, some call him Awakening, but I call him Daddy, right? So he was certainly having some thoughts about, you know, he's had some thoughts on the guys like Cammy, right, last year, Awakening seemingly the year before that. Like, yeah, okay, this guy's really good. We maybe want to give a chance to him on our roster. Now, of course, whether that's going to happen anymore, whether Crim's opinion on Awakening has changed at all, but certainly at this time or another, Awakening was like the hottest prospect in the world. It's like, okay, how is this guy so good? How is he performing at this level? Like, we've never heard of this guy before. He's just appeared on the scene and just all of a sudden starts going off on the main stage. Of course, it was online at the time, and since you went to LAN, things maybe have changed to some degree. But still, last year when Dallas Empire were making their roster changes, they still had Illy and Shotzi on the team, of course, alongside Crimsix. Huke was going to be out of there for whatever reason they decided to drop him. Still, still not entirely clear, frankly. And when they were going to release Huke, they looked at some other options, right? They actually tried to get Clayster, I believe, for the Subliners onto the roster, kind of how they've built it this year. That didn't end up working out. Of course, they get Vivid in the ends from, from the, Los Angeles Guerrillas as it was at the time, and now he's on the Florida Mutineers. But, when Huke was leaving. But still, apparently they looked into Awakening. They tried to make that happen. It obviously couldn't work out because Fellow had to step in for a little bit of time. But Awakening apparently said no to joining the Dallas Empire. And Crimsix like, you're an idiot, Sancho. Like, what are you playing at? You could have had a great opportunity to be on one of the best teams, and now you're stuck down there on Florida once again.
You last year?
Yeah.
Did Awakening never tell you that we try to get him too?
Yeah.
This mother said flat out no. Off. I was like,
wait, I think he did tell me that.
Bro, me, Ender, and Ant were like jaw dropped. We're like, dude, you are dumb, dude. It would have been, and this was when he was like really good, like no, like unbelievable, like you're hacking, like pretty much just pre-Hannah, you know?
I'm not down. That's my slime, bro.
I mean, dude, he's pretty good right now. But
Yeah,
like,
he's grinding a lot.
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
when
just
Joe
calling it
grinds,
like I
good.
see it, bro. I'm just calling it like I see it.
So I did remember this, right, from the Modern Warfare season when Awakening, like when Crimsix puts on the Awakening POV, right, kind of joking about the fact that he's hacking, but he goes on at the end of this clip to say, like, if you think he's hacking, he's a moron. And I did wonder why, like, Crimsix kind of going out of his way to, to kind of defend Awakening in this way, because he was kind of joking about it, but also saying, look, Awakening's perfectly legit, don't worry about it. And then apparently that might have been because at the end of the day, maybe a year or so later, a few months later, he actually wanted Awakening to join his team. That didn't work out. Would it really have improved Dallas Empire? An interesting question, because Awakening seems to be very good with the SMG, but I think he's probably best placed when he can use both. Like, I thought he was at his best, frankly, in Modern Warfare when he had an M4 in hand, he'd run around, he'd pick up an MP5, and just, like, dominate with it back and forth. Maybe on LAN, things could be a different story as well. It generally hasn't performed quite as well on LAN as he did do online. Of course, at the Kickoff Classic this weekend, he looked pretty good, but they only played a couple of series. So, still, if Awakening had come in instead of Vivid, that would have been an interesting question. Would Illy have been on the kind of second SMG there? Maybe so. Like, what would they have done with Awakening? But also, where would his career have gone? Because the last year or so, people's perceptions of Awakening have probably been on the downtrend, frankly. Especially because, for example, this in the off-season when Neptune had a few words to say on Awakening and the frustrations that he felt really teaming with them last year and the communication that seemed to be very much lacking within that Florida roster. And, was that to do with Awakening to some degree? Seemed to be the case. Neptune was basically like there was no adult in the room. And that was an issue that we had last year. And I imagine that maybe the current Florida Mutineers guys maybe think that issue is still there to some degree because they haven't really seemed to address that with the signings that they have made this season, you would argue, even though Davpadie's communication has looked great so far. So they always ends that angle. But yeah, if Awakening was on Dallas, what would have happened this offseason? I'm kind of inclined to say that just because obviously Awakening didn't want to leave Florida and still like to play with those guys, maybe even if he did join Dallas last offseason, the end of the season roster media could have gone exactly the same, where Awakening returns to Florida and then Crimsix still does what he did, and because they still had decent results last year with Vivid, but obviously it wasn't good enough for them not to make changes. The merger was happening anyway with Optic and Envy, so changes were always going to happen there, and Crimsix obviously wanted to team with Clayster, so probably the roster mania still goes the same, but who knows, maybe they have great results with Awakening, maybe they have terrible results and they make a change before champs, who knows what happens. This I also wanted to mention, because if you guys have been keeping up with the Valorant drama of these last couple of days, you might well know that, Clayster's talking about a rather interesting topic here in the Valorant scene, that a lot of coaches have been spotted in TeamSpeak in actual online matches, talking to their players. This isn't allowed, right? The coach isn't allowed to talk during the middle of a game, only allowed to talk in pauses and stuff like that, and as Clay says, I heard Revan laugh in TeamSpeak when I sniped someone at the kickoff. Does that count as a forfeit, right? Because that's the thing in Valorant, right now, teams have been getting disqualified for that over the last couple of days in the North American region. So this is quite interesting, right? I guess there is someone at the kickoff monitoring this, so, can actually not coach these guys in real time. But in fairness, some of these online games for the league matches, would it be possible for the coaches to somehow talk to those guys? I guess the CDL would be monitoring those communications to make sure, no information is actually going back and forth, because it's not allowed, right, that the coaches can speak to the players unless it's, mid-game, or like if there was a timeout system in Call of Duty, which of course there is not, but between maps they can actually talk to them, right, and give them strategies and ideas and, tips and pointers for the upcoming games, but of course in-game they're not allowed to do the calling out for them, which is basically how it went back in the day when the coaches would basically do all the call-outs, tell the guys, okay, rotate now, it's 20 seconds to go, and, carry a lot of the weight of the in-game leading off the players themselves. That kind of adds another skill gap to the players having to deal deal with that themselves, not just having a coach behind it doing them for them. That's the angle I might take, but there is a lot of people who still defend coaches being able to be behind the players and talk to them while they are on main stage. This also from Clayster, right, just to finish out the video with a fantastic another clip from Crimsix. This is just gold dust. Like, of course, Clayster pretty frustrated a few days ago with the state of the league and the way they handled the protocols at the kickoff event. And, I mean, yeah, this phenomenal clip here from Crimsix when he comes out in the full gas mask and just saying that, well, him and Clayster's opinions on this type of stuff seem to vary quite significantly right now. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tells the YouTube gods it's a good video, and just like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm James Eubanks. They call me Clayster. And, CDL, listen, if you can't follow CDC mandates, I'm playing like this. Motherfucker, dude. Oh, dude. Because I'm sitting here, I'm the exact opposite, bro. I'm the exact opposite. I'm sitting there like, dude, let's risk it all.